And we're back, people. We are back. Your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airwaves, rolling with Ramos, is back. I happen to be the one that holds the last name Ramos, as I am always grandly am. I would like to thank my daddy for that one. Mike Ramos in heaven, you had a birthday last week. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I tried to do this last week, but I was sick. I hope you take it easy on me. But happy birthday. Love you. Episode 141, because this is 2025. And like I said, I was sick last week. We were supposed to do this. I don't want another cold in 25. I was sick New Year's and I was sick 2 weeks later. I don't know if my immune system needs something. I don't know. It's trash at the moment, but I'm over catching a cold. I don't need another one. But episode 141. The New Year edition. I tried to do the intro and everything, guys, last week. My voice sounded like SpongeBob. I couldn't get it out. Rolling with me as he always does, because we just keep rolling and strolling along year after year, is my guy, Tristan. And joining us is my Detroit brother, the half of Sports Q&A, Al Washington. Fellas, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What up, though?
All right, skipping all of the formalities and everything. Let's get right into this, shall we? Let's start with the ladies. Unless you've been living under a rock, we know the WNBA season is over for now. But this nice little unrivaled league is doing some numbers, already smashing ratings out there on TNT and True TV and Max. But if you've been living under a rock, I'm going to tell you what it's about. An innovative 3 versus 3 professional women's basketball league founded by 2 current U.S. Olympians, Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart. The league features 6 teams with 6 players on each team. The inaugural season kicked off this month of 2025 in beautiful Miami. Season will include 9 weeks of total play, including playoffs. The 6 teams will play in a round robin schedule. The top 4 teams in standings at the conclusion of the regular season will make the playoffs. The teams include the Laces, the Lunar Owls, the Mist, the Phantom, the Rose Basketball Club, and the Vinyl. Players, nothing short of any Hall of Famers on this list. But anyways, you know them pretty well because they're banging. Stewie, Enrico Agumbawale, Chelsea Gray, the point guard, Queen Fee, Nafisa Collier, Kalia Cooper, Skylar Diggins-Smith, she's already out there hitting game winners, McBuckets, Kayla McBride, Cloud, of course, we know her as Natasha Cloud, BG, Brittany Griner, Sabrina Ionescu, and the 305 Barbie, Angel Reese. I love the little nickname. You can watch season 1 on TNT, True TV, and stream on Max. The standings as of right now, the Laces, the Lunar Owls, and the Vinyl are 2-0, while the Mist, Phantom, and Rose are still trying to get a couple of wins or two at 0-2. How do we feel about this off-season league? We see the fellas kind of go and do their own thing, and I know the women, it's a little bit different, but this league is good. It's competitive. These girls are balling. Whoever wants to take it first in the first show of the new year.
Go ahead, Al.
Well, I'll go first. So I think it's marketing, branding, all at the same time is like the perfect storm. As the women's basketball game on the college level and WNBA level is at an all-time high. Now you add this additional league, which is much more exciting. It's like, please pardon me in this, a real version of the Big Three when you have current athletes that are playing. So it's much more entertaining. It's much more engaging. It's more fan-friendly. It's faster paced. You have stars. So you have a whole new brand. You have new teams. So you have players that were foes now. They're teammates. I mean, it's a whole new aspect. And I want to say, even though WNBA is on ABC and ESPN, being on TNT, most people view TNT as the network for basketball only because of Charles Barkley and the crew. So it kind of plays into it while it's going on during the season. So I think that it's really impactful to the game. It's going to actually be as popular as the WNBA, which is going to lead to expansion going on. I just like the ins and outs, just the excitement in the first week of the league, and it's going to actually bring it on. Actually, may have people, hey, let me shoot down to Miami during this so I can go ahead and see this. With it being in one place, I like that as well because now it's all, it's an added attraction to that. I think it is a win-win on all parts, where you're going to have people fighting, not literally, but fighting to be in the league. So the number one, they don't have to go overseas to get paid. Number two, that is just going to be that popular that you want to get seen, and it's going to actually you're going to probably see it have a trickle down effect as it being almost a way for people to leverage their free agency or their salaries in WNBA as well. Now I know WNBA may not necessarily be happy with the injury risk, but these players have to be able to do what they need to do so they don't have to go clear across the world to be able to make some additional money during the offseason. So it's exciting. I can't wait to see how it plays out. It's to me is really well done for a first year league, being as polished as it is. But when you have the people that are backing it and are part of it, you're getting a result that you get right now.
Tristan, I know you're a Skylar Diggins girl. She called game the other week. How are you feeling about this league?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's exciting. I watched a couple of the games. I love the setup. I love the atmosphere of it. Um, I think it's more engaging. I love the audio aspect of it. You kind of hear 'em more on the court, jarring at each other and stuff like that. Like that makes it all engaging and fun. And like you said, it makes it safer for them to be able to, still make some kind of money and be home. You know what I'm saying, and not have to go overseas. And you still, some of them probably still try to go overseas or whatever. Like but that's at least you have options. You got choices, and I think people should really get behind it because it is really exciting to watch. I mean, the way they set it up, it really is exciting to watch. And like you said, Skylar Diggins, been one of my favorites since her time at Notre Dame. So, um, just seeing the highlight of her hitting the game winner and stuff like that, and um, I just really like the excitement. They did a great job. I think people were kind of confused at first. So with the promotion of it, like you saw the women were promoting on social media, like the new jerseys and all, like they did a great job trying to like promo this thing because like that was the thing that caught my eye was like the jerseys are fire. Like I love the jersey, and so that made me want to watch the game even more. So um, I think it's something really good and really special when they, the sky's the limit for them on that as that keeps growing and building, just to give them another outlet when before the WNBA season.
When we talk about women's sports, most particularly women's basketball on both the collegiate and the professional level, we talk about the crossover appeal when it comes to fandom. Are women watching? Are men watching? Does TNT, with you guys saying what you're saying, does TNT offer the brand a part in being able to have more men watching the game, or does it just have people watching the game in totality in general, and then that leeway leads to the WNBA season in its own right?
Um, I think they can do more. I think they can do more with helping the women out. I think if they, how they just do the highlights. Let's keep it stacked for real, for real. Besides a couple of highlight reels or stuff, going on in NBA, this is still the low moment of the NBA because the NFL, is so dominant right now with the playoffs. This would be the time like to try to push some of the women highlights in there too, like give them the exposure along with the NBA because you're right now you're not drowning anything away from the NFL. So the ones that are like basketball purists or the ones that are like us that will pay attention, of course we're paying attention to football, but we pay attention to the NBA as well. Put the WNBA highlights in there, like I said, Skylar Diggins hitting that game winner. A lot of people wrote her off for a while, so it was good to see her kind of like get her fire back of who she is, stuff like that. Like get them, get that going as well. So I think they can do a lot more to help them out, help the women out to engage. Because, to be quite honest, in my opinion, I think watching the WNBA is more, for me, almost more entertaining than watching the NBA, because you're really
Mhm.
basketball being played, not just freak of nature athletes that are just running up and down the court and then want to play iso ball because everybody want to be Steph Curry. So you're either a mutant that can jump 40 something inches and you're just doing highlight reels, or you're trying to be Steph Curry. Like in WNBA, you're watching fundamental basketball. They're passing, setting screens, they're setting up their offenses. Like, it's just more enjoyable, in my opinion.
Spoken truly out of the words of Carmelo Anthony. Al.
I agree. I think they can do more with marketing. It is a low time in the NBA, and instead of pushing up these, you know, really entertaining games, non-meaningful games, we're not even to the All-Star break. This is the perfect time to push this. I mean, I don't know if the NBA is pushing back on that side with them being a sponsor or part of the WNBA, of the true marketing that needs to be done for this. But I think that it is definitely a little time. Like I said, my Pistons are actually playing a lot better right now, but it's still hard to watch. Like the turnovers. Oh, dude, listen, I was a point guard and had a growth spurt, and then became a power forward center in seventh grade. But you got to protect the ball. And I'm sitting there watching, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I was just watching the Butler UConn game before this, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This dude just threw the ball up trying to throw into a post. It was double pop. He just lofted it in the air. Like, dude, what part of the game is that? Like, and I see it, and I love Cade to death. Cade be getting in there and do that spin and just be out there just like a little toddler, to be like, all right, let me just try to see what works. And like,
See
dude,
what
but
works.
it works because they skill level is so high
So
on
high.
other levels that they can get away with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just, to me, I'm old school. Call me the old man, call me ump, whatever you want to call me. But fundamental basketball is attractive to me.
Yep.
The highlights are fine and the other things, but the real game is attractive to me. So I like that. Yeah, the turnovers are just hard to watch. Like I haven't yelled at the TV in years, and I'm yelling at TV in the game that I only know one person. It's a friend, the son of one of my friends who plays for Butler, and I'm yelling at both teams like I'm best invested, or I got them both in the parlay, and neither is true. So I was like, yeah, I have to just calm down and like, okay, this is the new era, and when I see a team, that's doing that fundamental, then that becomes one of my favorite teams in that moment because, that's how the game should be played to be able to elevate it and play it the right way without all these gross the turnovers. So I think they should really look at, after this first 2 weeks of how they can push it even more because you still have a couple more weeks before the All-Star break. So you
Yep.
can continue to push it, continue to get it to a certain level, and then right after you coming off the All-Star break, a couple weeks later, you'll be going into the finals, the playoffs for this league. So I think they can do it the right way and push it. I think the fans are ready for it because you still, WNBA is not until summer, so you still have a long way to go
Mhm.
with that. And now you can get a new set of fandom going on, and it's actually going on in most states. In high school, you have women's girls basketball going on, so now that's an added piece too
Yep.
that is going on in season. So
Yeah.
uh, I like it.
Yeah, it takes us all back to this conversation of last year when they said, I know someone that said, I don't even know half the guys playing on the collegiate level, but I know everybody who was playing last year for the women's side because the women's game was so exciting. And
Mhm.
then you add in Juju and everybody's watching collegiate basketball because now we want to see them play in the unrivaled league. So this is something that they could develop for a long time.
I don't know. I
Speaking,
don't know the guys
yeah.
this. I don't know the guys this year outside of the old boy from Duke. I don't know the guys this
Oh yeah. I got Hunter Dickinson. Dickinson. That's because he's been in the league in college for 6 years.
year. You're right.
But Juju, everybody, LSU is balling.
Mhm.
There's so much going on.
Mhm.
Speaking of Skylar Diggins, and speaking of her alma mater and the Fighting Irish, there was a little game yesterday, fellas, another football game before we get to the pros. College Football National Championship. Number 5, Notre Dame. Number 6, Ohio State. Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 23. Ohio State survived a furious comeback attempt by Notre Dame to win the college football playoff national championship all the way at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Big plays by quarterback Will Howard helped the Buckeyes to their first national title in a decade, sixth national title. Shout out to that 3rd and 11, fellas. Will Howard, 17 to 21, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did not throw a pick. Quinshon Judkins, 11 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith, 5 receptions, 88 yards, 1 touchdown. Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman, man, first of all, I know there's a lot of chatter about him not finishing the deal and the African American community, but shout out to that black man of what he almost did on a day where society, on a day where the world was changing, and on MLK's birthday. If he would have won, he would have got the MLK award. Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman, second black head coach in Notre Dame football history, and the first to play for a national championship. Credit to Ohio State and their ability to execute, he says, on both sides of the ball. Riley Leonard, 222 of 31, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the ground, he had 17 carries, 40 yards, 1 touchdown. Jaden Greathouse, 6 receptions, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did time run out on Notre Dame, or did Ohio State had this from the beginning, fellas?
Oh, Ohio State was the better team. Ohio State is the better team. There's a better team going in. I credit Notre Dame for continuing to fight, because I think Ohio State kind of put their foot off the gas defensively. At one point, it was like 28-7, and I think they kind of put their foot off the gas because they thought they were just going to coast the rest of the game. And Notre Dame's showing them like, nah, bro, like we're here for a reason. But from get-go, Ohio State was the better team, and not even because of their quarterback. It's really because of number 4. That's really who it is. The new star receiver who's only a freshman. We're going to see 2 more seasons of this boy before he's going into the draft. I'm gonna put it to y'all like this: how good he is. If he was somehow to come out to the draft this year, he'd be the number 1 pick out of this draft class as a freshman. That's how much of a freaking nature Jeremiah is. He'd be the number 1 pick, clear cut, number 1. He is that next generational receiver. We always see him, the Calvin Johnsons, the Julio Jones, the Jamar Chase. He the next one that we're going to see in a couple years.
They just had one that just came out of Ohio State.
I'm about to say Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, Ohio State is rich for it. Between LSU and Ohio State, I don't know who you call wide receiver you more. They all got, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, they've all produced quality receivers that are balling in the NFL currently. So, Ohio State just got rich with that. But he's a beast, man. He's a beast.
Al, you came out of those bricks. I thought you were sinking, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see you.
I came out of the brick, so there's no love lost between Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah,
I will agree. Going into the game, Ohio State is the better team. They showed it on the field, but there were some errors that Notre Dame did that I think caused their demise. So the first thing is, the first drive by Notre Dame was an epic drive, a 9-minute drive in which they went out and scored a touchdown. Now, mind you, I think they had 6 quarterback runs on that drive, which is a lot for your quarterback. So they kind of changed their game plan. They changed their game plan. They went 3 and out either 2 or 3 times in a row. That kind of changed every aspect of the game. They got behind. They couldn't stop Ohio State. Then it became a catch-up type of game. Then I'm going to say it. I mean, they won the national championship. I'm in a house divided anyway. My wife is a Buckeye. I don't care. Ohio State did what Ohio State does. They rested on their laurels, and they let the team get back in the game.
Yeah, that's it. Foot off the gas.
If it had not been for Notre Dame going for that field goal instead of going for the first down. With I want to say 6 minutes ago or 9 minutes ago, it could have been a totally different game. They were down by 16. I understand the math logic. You go for 3. Now it's a 2-score game. Listen, it's a 2-score game if we're going for overtime anyway. Granted, it's the national championship game, but you got to play to win. Ohio State was on roller skates at that moment in time. They were making some key plays, but they were you were seeing the chinks in the armor. And then all of a sudden, you decide to go for the field goal. If you put the game in the hands of a field goal kicker's foot, you get what you get. Just gonna say, you get what you get. So after that, they still battled, but they end up giving the ball up and then giving up that late field goal, and it was over. It was a better game. Again, Notre Dame, I mean, you just look at certain aspects. The 12-man playoff did work, but the ranking system is off because of the top 4 buys. So top 4 buys go to the champions, and then also the top-ranked non-Power 5 champion or Power 4 champion. So it really put re-ranking teams. They need to – these are the top 12 and then rank them as the top 12 instead of re-ranking them. Granted, there should be a multiplier for conference champion, but that should not automatically qualify you to get that bye. Because what it did is it set up some teams and allowed a team like Ohio State, who prior to the playoff was coming off that loss to Michigan, to basically get warm-up game and just go on down and get that momentum and do what they did and winning the Natty. So going in and Ohio State beat the spread too, which it was going to be. I thought the game was going to be ugly. I almost turned it off. But in the third quarter, they showed some life. So I said, okay, let me go see what this is going to do. But it ended up being better than what it was because it was a snooze at first.
It was.
But it was just the type of teams. Like Notre Dame was a team like not Michigan's team that won the national championship, but maybe 2 seasons before when they were just a run-heavy team. They're just passing to the tight end stuff. Their offense, their defense was their battle cry, and against Ohio State, you gotta put up some points unless you got
put up points.
Unless your coach fears the other team. So and that's he's only shown that there's only one team that he fears, and they wasn't playing Michigan that day. So it is what it is. They did what they did. I can't knock it, but they were the better team yesterday for sure.
And listen, I agree with you. Any other year, them losing to Michigan, they might not even be in the playoffs. So I agree. I think Ohio State. I think once people saw where Ohio State was placed, I think people kind of wrote them in to being in the national championship and winning it. Once you saw it, because it was just like, who are you going to stack them against in the playoffs to beat them? It was kind of like all roads led to it. So I do agree, but even still, don't play man coverage against Jeremiah. That's all I gotta say about Coach Freeman. Don't play man coverage against Jeremiah.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Yeah, there you go. So first of all, I understand to an extent of what they were doing on that last play. Yeah, well, not the last play, but the play that led to the field goal. Yeah. Is yes, you're gonna put pressure, but you gotta have a safety high. You gotta have somebody to block. Now, mind you, I know the fear in the life of that DB at that time when they made that call was like, sweet Jesus, help me. Because do you, number one, try to jam them and whiff and then just give up the touchdown, or do I just try to not let him get past me? And he got past him anyway. So the thing is, it was a lose-lose. You got set up. We're not talking about the Lions yet, but there were some things in my game in which our defensive coordinator set up our team to lose or be in a bad situation on bad calls. So it was a combination of errors. And the thing is you should have been. They were getting pressure in the second half. You did not have to do a zero blitz, and you put that and had that man 1-on-1. If you look at the pass, first of all, it was a bad call offensively too, considering where you were in the game. It was a horrible call defensively. And then the pass, he just went back there and said, 1-on-1, threw the ball up literally like this, like, yeah, he's going to run up underneath it. The faith and the gall to have all those things happen, it was the perfect storm imperfect on Notre Dame side, but it was a horrible call offensively. It was a horrible call defensively.
I
And
I I immediately screamed at the TV. Where's the safety?
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, shout out to the other parameters of this matchup outside of the historical perspective. You talking about Kirk Herbstreit and his son, and with
His son,
Ohio
yeah.
State, it's
Good
some
one.
type of Cody Rose thing going on.
Mhm.
They were able to finish the job, and then you got Ryan Clark's son over there in Notre Dame, and it was just a beautiful family thing also for this game as well. And but until next year, college football is over. We still got some NFL, and you're tuned in to your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airways, rolling with Ramos. Make sure you drop those comments down below. Make sure you talk to us. I'm Mikkel. Hi, I always am. And I got Al, I got Tristan with me, my guys. Let's start with Saturday, shall we? Saturday. And you know what's funny about the games that were on Saturday? They made me forget that Sunday was coming. I'm
Yeah.
thinking Saturday was Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at like, oh, it's Monday tomorrow. No, you actually can chill. But let's start with Saturday. Vikings 9. Talk about so much for that number 1 seed. We'll talk about that later. But so much for that number 1 seed because 2 weeks in a row it didn't work for you. The Vikings 9, the Rams 27. Wild card, Kevin O'Connell, he and the Vikings, let's start with that one, have agreed to a multi-year extension. The team announces today. We start with wild card weekend, start with them because we got to do some administrative duties. He and the Vikings have agreed to a multi-year extension. The team announces today. Terms were not disclosed. The Vikings are also working on an extension for general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports today as well. O'Connell led the Vikings to a 14-3 record this season and is 34-17 in 3 seasons as the team's coach. The Vikings have reached the postseason twice under O'Connell, losing in the wild card round each time. He is the first coach in Vikings history to post multiple 13-win seasons and become the fastest coach in franchise history to achieve 30 wins, doing so this season in his 46th game. It's an absolute honor to continue leading the Minnesota Vikings. Holding this prestigious position is something I never take for granted. And I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Wilf family for their unwavering belief in what we are building together. I'm thrilled for the years ahead and will continue to give you everything I have as we pursue a Super Bowl for the state of Minnesota. How do we feel about his extension? Does this mean anything for Sam Darnold? Anything for Vikings?
yeah. Two separate things. Two separate things. You had to get this done. I kind of like that they did it. It's kind of similar to what the Lions did with locking up Campbell, and then also our GM last year after the success we had last year, because now you build the continuity within the locker room, the franchise, and now that helps with recruiting for free agency and all that other things to that. He deserves it. I mean, they're a good team. I just think that they put a lot of energy and pressure on themselves in the last game of the season with the opportunity to get in the number 1 seed and to win the division. And it didn't go how they wanted. And I think they kind of came out flat. But I also think that, the Lions kind of gave the recipe on how to make Darnold look more like himself. And Darnold may have fumbled the bag and maybe fumble his position with the Vikings due to what he's done. It just really depends on how high they value J.J. McCarthy, or if they plan to keep on Daniel Jones somewhere in there as an emergency plan. But I don't think they can afford, this is just my opinion, they can afford to keep Darnold unless they do something foolish like franchise him. But, Darnold, he's going to want the money based on his stats from this season. But how he ended it will maybe damage that with the Vikings. But their teams, because quarterbacks, the number of quality quarterbacks is below a third in the league. of the total 32 teams. So he'll get a spot. Somebody will pay or overpay him, trying to get to that next level of where they are. So I mean, he played himself into a contract. It's just buyer beware because he has already shown you who he was. This could be the anomaly, or it could be the transition to the new Sam Darnold, who they thought he was going to be. But yeah, there's two different things. It's a good thing for Minnesota to lock up, their leadership, and look forward to seeing them next season.
Well, you can't hold on to the ball but for that long because the more he held on, the more they showed him. Tristan.
Yeah, you had to sign Kevin O'Connell. You had to sign him. He's a great coach, great offensive mind, and a great leader of men. I mean, just to see how he really breathed confidence back into Sam Darnold. I mean, for this season alone, should have let you know the kind of coach that he is. Um, but as far as Sam Darnold, yeah, I mean that last game he definitely played himself out of some money. Not gonna act like it's not the case. He definitely played himself out of some money. It's just a fact of understanding. Okay, Sam Darnold had a great season, but who are you really? Because when we started to figure you out, then you had some problems. So, who are you? Are you the person that we saw that was making all these plays that looked like the Jets made a mistake or mishandled you? Or are you still the guy that's still seeing ghosts? Like it really depends on who you are. So Kevin O'Connell, yes. Don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be there. People forget JJ McCarthy is right there. Picked him top 10. Like so, it's some decisions that got to be made. But Kevin O'Connell is the person to lead them.
Justin Jefferson has his money already, but if you're Justin Jefferson, what are you thinking in all of this? Especially if you guys are saying Sam Darnold talked himself out of some money. Is he looking to have to adjust to another quarterback eventually?
I think you have to see what JJ is going to do with him because that was people forget in the preseason. JJ was sharp. He looked great. It was just a matter of you didn't know he got hurt, so you just it was unfortunate, but he looked great. Justin Jefferson had a lot of confidence in JJ going into it, so it's just a matter of are you going to trust that the rookie's going to be good because he's basically going to have his rookie year, or are you going to go with the short thing with Sam Darnold? But if I'm Justin Jefferson, I'm like, y'all just need to make sure y'all give me a quarterback that can get me the ball. Get me the ball. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, him and Sam had a nice relationship. Al.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, he just wants somebody to give him the ball. He wants consistency, whoever it's going to be. I mean, I'm pretty sure the last two games he's not really pleased with Darnold, but overall for the season he was, but it's not the end. So it just really depends on, what the franchise sees, and it also depends how much say so will he have, and how much will the franchise listen to him. We're not talking about this yet, but one franchise listened to their quarterback or their leader of who they wanted as a coach, and that kind of came to fruition. So how much are the Vikings organization going to listen to Justin Jefferson regarding, the quarterback decision? Because, he is that guy, and he will be that guy for a while. How much are they going to listen to him on what he wants?
I love special guests. Shout out to Sienna. And if you ever have seen Tristan's daughter, if he was ever a woman, look.
Yeah. Of course, she wanted to be next to me. So,
if he was ever a woman, but this is how she's going to get to being people like me. So we'll keep you around. Hey, girl, let's move on to the divisional round, shall we? Let's move on to Saturday and the oxygen tank, the heart attacks. If I needed an oxygen tank on Saturday for obvious reasons, I had a heart attack on Sunday, and we'll get to that later. Let's start with Saturday. The Texans 14, Kansas City Chiefs 23. Patrick Mahomes 16 of 25, 177 yards, 1 touchdown. On the ground, he had 7 carries, 14 yards. Kareem Hunt 8 carries for 44 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce 7 receptions, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. C.J. Stroud 19 to 28, 245 yards. He did not throw a touchdown. He did not throw a pick. If there's anything you do in the offseason, Houston, 2 words: offensive line. This man was sacked 8 times. On the ground, he's 6 carries for 42 yards. Joe Mixon, 18 carries, 88 yards, 1 touchdown. Nico Collins, 5 receptions at 81 yards. It's very interesting here, fellas, because outside of Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, who didn't play last year anyway, they walked in with the same clientele offensively. And who was going to step up other than Nico Collins? Patrick Mahomes had never lost in the divisional round of the playoffs with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Houston Texans have never won one. 2-time defending Super Bowl champions to the AFC title game for the 7th consecutive season. The Chiefs are the 4th team in NFL history to follow back-to-back Lombardi trophies by advancing to the conference title game in the 3 previous losses. They will try to change that at Arrowhead Stadium next weekend against the Bills for a shot at dethroning the defending champs. Mahomes, 16-3 in the postseason. The man don't lose. Tying Joe Montana for the 2nd most wins by a starting quarterback in NFL history behind Tom Brady. That includes his peerless 7-0 mark in divisional playoff games. Meanwhile, the Big Red Machine, as I like to call him, Andy Reid becomes just 4th coach in NFL history with 300 career wins. The Texans still have never won in 6 divisional games, twice losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in devastating fashion. Ow.
Well, I mean, you got to protect yourself. Kansas City's bell cow this year is their defense. If you said that with Mahomes' stats and you just looked at the stats, you wouldn't necessarily think that the game, you could look and say, oh, they lost that game because, they ain't doing anything special. Their defense is lights out. That front 7 is crazy. They are just bullying people if you don't have a good offensive line. If you have a good offensive line, that's when you get into those, as I call them, those Kansas City miracle wins that they've had this season, where it's come down to the last play or other things. But, I mean, Kansas City was the better team. Hey, the game could have been closer. Kicker missed the extra point. I mean, you look at all these things that play a part. I don't know if the NFL really knew or thought that moving the extra point back would affect so many games the way that it was. If I'm a coach, if I'm an organization, I may take that to the rules committee. Like, let's move that back because that's affecting too much of the game, or make it another benefit, something towards it. But this game was a good game. It was kind of lopsided in the beginning, got better, but then you just had to those big plays when you have to stop Kansas City. Kansas City just refused to be stopped, and you just really couldn't do anything. And the Texans were kind of handicapped with their Tank being out and everything else, so they had no extra and nobody really step up. Mixon got what he could against that defense, but it just really was just the Mahomes show. I'm not going to get into the 13th player the 12th player on the Chiefs, which everybody said the referees. I mean, there are questionable calls in every game. It does seem to happen a lot of times, especially when it gets close with them. But at the end of the day, you still got to beat them. They've been defeated. One that doesn't really count because they took a bye that week when they lost that game. But they get the opportunity to be a dynasty. I think they're already a dynasty over this reign. But had the opportunity to three-peat is an opportunity that most people don't get, and I would think they are the favorites going in with the last 4 teams that are left in the NFL. So it's going to be very interesting, this matchup that they have, and not sure if that home field is going to be an advantage because if you watch the other game, everybody's rooting for the other team. Everybody rooting for the Bills.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like that field. You got to, in order to be the king, you got to beat the king. And they have not proven that they can do that in the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting. But that game was, I guess, entertaining. It was one of the better games of Saturday. I'll say that.
In your opinion, that's saying that because that was not the better game. But anyways, if we're talking about the rules and everything, I'm still trying to figure out the whole kicking thing in the tackle box, 30 yards, 20 yards. I think that I don't know what the heck is going on with that. But Will Anderson Jr. Will Anderson Jr. was the first big thing I did on ESPN, and he'll always be my baby. We'll always grow up together. He had a lot to say about some of those calls. Tristan, how did you fare on this game?
I mean, it's the Chiefs, man. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's the Chiefs. I mean, what Ric Flair's famous line? In order to be the man, you got to beat the man, and no one's been able to beat the man. This is their seventh consecutive AFC Championship game.
I'm tired,
From
boss.
the time that he was the starting quarterback for the Chiefs, that man does not know anything less than the AFC Championship game. So again, I mean, all we talked about all these other guys, the Josh Allens of the world, the Lamar Jacksons, Joe Burrows, Justin Herbert, all these other cats that from the AFC side that we think are in that tier. It's like he's in another tier, and they're just all, you know, scratching for
Yeah.
second. So, until someone we'll see what Josh Allen does this weekend. But until someone, slays the dragon, I mean, it is what it is. We've only seen it. We've only seen Joe Burrow be able to do it, and he ain't done it since. So, we got to see what happens. But some of the calls just throughout the season, I would be shocked if there isn't a coach that at least tries to bring it to someone's attention during the offseason about it. There are 5 games this year in which they should have lost. Like a call saved them. There's 5.
Yeah.
And so it's just like that's a little egregious. And I'm not one of those people that's like a conspiracy theorist and all that. I'm not one of them. But it is kind of strange that, they've just kind of lucked up on a lot of these situations.
My thing has
But
always
still,
been
Chiefs are the
you
Chiefs.
letting other people be able to take timeouts. The assistant coach can call a timeout for you. Those are if the NFL at some point was trying to hide it, they have not been able to hide it.
Not been successful.
Have not been successful. I did want to bring up this conversation of pass interference, fellas, because in watching this game, this has become something that you see. We only see it seems like we only see it with the Chiefs. We saw it a couple of weeks ago in the middle of the season with Trevor Lawrence and everything like that. The What can the league do? Because it's obvious. Houston Texans defensive guys are going at each other. They're hitting each other. They didn't even hit Mahomes. You can't even review that. You can't even review it. Will Anderson Jr., that was not pass interference. So at some point, you're doing a disservice to to the defense, because if he slides late and I hit him, I can't even stop my momentum to stop to hit him. What, as a defensive player, what am I supposed to do? So when it comes to the topic of defensive pass interference, or not even that, not pass interference, roughing the passer. That's what I meant to say. Roughing the passer. Where does that conversation go in the offseason? Especially if we're talking about overlooking some of these calls when it comes to Mahomes. Can we at least get defensive reviews?
Well, I know that there's going to be a conversation this offseason in regards to how referees got to judge, but you're talking about a human eye making the call. Um, but with what happened with Trevor Lawrence, um, the idea is that the referees are supposed to take a look at seeing how the quarterback is moving and positioning themselves. If they're setting themselves and trying to cheat it, engage to get an extra yard or two and then slide and the defender hits them, the conversation is supposed to be, well, is the referee going to call it, knowing that you know that the quarterback was trying to make a gain? Again, it's a judgment call. I don't think it's going to be a perfect science, but it is a conversation that's going to come up, because you're asking these referees to really have a split second. Maybe a defensive replay is what might be called for, but they also don't want to slow the game down. So you got to put all those things in consideration. So it's going to be interesting, but there is a conversation that's going to be had especially because of what happened with Trevor Lawrence. There's going to be a conversation about it because it's like if the guy knows that you can't hit him when he's in the midst of a slide and he's at it's a 3rd and 2 and he knows he can probably get these extra 2 yards by starting the slide, they're going to go for that. Or what Kenny Pickett did in college when he tried to do that fake slide and ended up another 20 yards down the field because the defender didn't want to hit him. Like they know quarterbacks are going to try that. So it is a discussion that's going to be had in the offseason for sure.
Any words out or
well, it just has to be equity in that because we saw, and I think every other playoff game, calls that could have been called that weren't called. When you saw a call that was called that where two Texans hit each other and not Mahomes, then it was called. So you just have to have equity in it. You do have defensive replays that are made in the NBA that can be made in the NBA on fouls. What does that look like? I mean, you do have college football. I mean, you do have things where they can look at it and call it up and say, hey, I'll put on the quick review. Do they go to NFL? I mean, the college route where every player is reviewed. I don't know. It depends on, you have to kind of pilot that and see what that looks like. But it's getting bad. And the thing is you're setting yourself up for it to make the difference in a Super Bowl, which you do not want to do. People can get over eventually those bad calls happening in the playoffs or in the pivotal game in the regular season. But in the Super Bowl, if that happens, we had in the AFC Championship with the tuck rule. So you're looking at a situation where the rules that you create and how you set it up and how your officials are calling it could make a difference in the world champion, which you do not want to asterisk by any Super Bowl at all.
Yeah. I was a little bit. We talk about turnovers, and we'll get to that Ravens game, but there was a pass interference call that led to 7 that shouldn't have led to 7. In my eyes, that wasn't even a pass interference call. Typically, we don't present props on this show. This is a straightforward show. You know what I'm saying? We talk, we listen, we engage. But I'm gonna take just 10 seconds of our time. Not too much.
Can I count?
Yeah, you can count. You can count 10 seconds of our time. And I'm pretty sure someone else in this 3 is going to want to engage with me in it.
And when can I start counting? Just asking.
Woo! Running back turbo.
That's propaganda,
baby.
That's propaganda,
back, okay.
That's propaganda.
Back, okay. This ain't, I know the logo ain't the logo. This will always be my logo. I love it forever. Shout out to Chief, Mr. Chief. Shout out to Sean Taylor. This week, Santana Moss, Chris Cooley, Clinton Portis,
Daryl Green.
Doug
Williams.
Shout out to everybody. Pierre Garçon.
London Fletcher.
You could just
LeVar Arrington. This season is this whole shebang of a rebuild. I've lost some family members. I lost an important family member. But this has been, and this is probably the most horrible take, but this has been like losing a family member for decades. And then all of a sudden, you get a chance to talk to them again. They get resuscitated. Things happen. All right.
That was longer than 10 seconds, but
okay,
I'll allow it.
Let's get back to the nitty gritty here, America. Commanders 45. Don't worry, Sienna, you will be a Commanders fan. The Commanders 45. Lions 31. They celebrated their first playoff win in 19 years. They do something again the second time. Jaden Daniels, Himothy, as I like to call him, 22 of 31, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did not throw a pick. On the ground, 16 carries, 51 yards. De'Ami Brown, shout out to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Shout out to catching the ball and you can't even see. 6 receptions for 98 yards. Terry McLaurin, it's always time to get scary, man. It ain't never not a time to get scary. I love this man, and we love him. 4 receptions, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. Zach Ertz, old reliable Zach Ertz, the other veteran. 5 receptions, 28 yards, 1 touchdown. Jared Goff, if we're going to go to the other side, 23 of 40, 313 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs, 14 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 6 receptions, 70 yards. Jameson Williams, 1 carry, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw a pick. Ross St. Brown, 8 receptions, 137 yards. Jaden Daniels and the nothing to lose Washington Commanders sent the top seed Detroit Lions to a stunningly swift playoff exit. That wasn't swift. That was a belt to the butt exit, okay? Daniels threw for 2 touchdowns, and fellow rookie Mike Sanderstill. Shout out to you coming back to Michigan. Y'all know what this man doing in Michigan, and y'all allow him back in Michigan. Shout out to Pretty Mikey, as we like to call him. 2 interceptions, dazzling performances that helped Washington reach the NFC Championship game for the first time since winning the franchise's 3rd Super Bowl 33 years ago. I was 3, okay? I was 3. I had my natural life. I didn't see it. I might see this one. The 6-seeded it's a surreal moment, Daniel said. The 6-seeded Commanders were nearly double-digit underdogs. And Tristan, if you're looking at the parameters of next week, nobody still has the Commanders winning except for one. We're nearly double-digit underdogs against the Super Bowl favorite Lions and overcame doubts as they did all season long with a new quarterback, coach, general manager. Daniels became the 2nd rookie quarterback to knock off a top-seeded team, joining Joe Flacco, who led Baltimore past Tennessee on January 10th, 2009. Lieutenant Dan Quinn, he's the man. Give them credit, Lions coach Dan Campbell said. They earned the game. We didn't. Detroit, the NFC's top team for the first time with a franchise record 15 wins, doomed its chances of living up to expectations by turning the ball over 5 times. Washington outscored Detroit 28-14 in second quarter. That was the highest, fellas, scoring quarter in NFL playoff history to take a 31-21 lead at halftime. Where do we start here? Do you want to start with where the Lions went wrong? Tristan?
I will give the
or do we want to start with the question at hand? Can Daniels lead Washington to the Super Bowl? You can answer this too. You can answer this too.
He can. I mean, the thing is what Washington has done since the victory against the Eagles is that they have gotten that feeling. They got that continuity. They got that confidence, and it's clear. Like even in the wild card round, you could see they were playing differently. I'm going to just answer the question before I go Lions. So yes, they can. They had the confidence. I mean, the defense, has to make Saquon not beat you and see how much the effect from the concussion protocol their quarterback is. Make him have to beat you.
The knee.
He had lackluster numbers in their win, and it was a Saquon show, and we've seen it before. Not in Philly yet, but in New York plenty of times when the Saquon show, and they needed it to be in the big game.
You sound like that meme, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. So, but he can do it. The thing is, he is not. Even though this is his first year, he's not a rookie. The way he's playing, the way the offense is designed for his strengths. This is a lesson to a lot of GMs, a lot of coaches. Instead of trying to make players the player that you want them to be, see who they are, build that offense around them, give them the talents there, and build their confidence, and then you can get this type of thing. But He's not new to winning. He was a Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, a winner. So the thing is that he has that ability. The thing is you have to be able to get pressure on him, but you also have to get smart pressure on him. You have to make him be confined into a box and make him make plays. Maybe put a spy on him majority of the time. But if you can't just zone him up and you can't just man him up unless you put a man that's going to be on him. And it got to be somebody. It got to be a sniper safety, somebody that can have that speed or something else. So he can do it. It just really depends on how the offensive calls are and what type of game it is. They do play better ahead. Getting behind. That's when you can force to make those mistakes. But I've been thoroughly impressed. I've seen probably about 6 Washington games this year. And I'm sitting there looking like, man, I mean, even when we found out we were playing them, I wasn't like elated. Like, okay, it was like, okay, we already have issues with mobile quarterbacks, but this dude is different because he can make the play and he made plays. And it wasn't just to McLaren, it was to this player, it was to Brown, it was to this. He was finding it was to Ertz. Oh, I'm not even gonna talk about it. But I yelled out Ertz before that touchdown. And I'm like, dude, how do you not cover Ertz in this play? You knew it was coming. But yes, the simple answer, yes, he can. They have the confidence of beating them. They can scheme them. It wasn't like Philly was, not trying to beat them the first time. So he did beat Philly's defense. So now it's really about what adjustments both teams make in this game. And who would have thought that the NFC East would be both participants in the NFC Championship game?
Division's back on top. I knew this was a game when you saw a Lions team that you're used to going 4th down. The Commanders pushed them in a hole where they had to kick the field goal. And then in kicking the field goal, every time they did something, the Commanders did something. It was to the point where not only did you keep a lead, you kept extending the lead where the mountain at some point just became too much. Tristan, I know we can go on for years because me and Tristan was talking in all caps on Saturday. That's how I felt like I wanted to run outside. He wanted to run outside. Hopefully we would have found each other if I could have came down 95. We kept saying, if this, even in loss, this is a win-win because no one expected us to be here. So if we lose, and this just caps a perfect season. But to continue to be able to go, Tristan, you have the floor. Make it a little quick because we gotta move on. But you have the floor.
So, for those that have watched our show for a very long time now, knows that I'm big about college football and I'm big about college football quarterbacks. And so I've watched Jaden Daniels from Arizona State till now. And I'm a fan. My favorite college football team is LSU Tigers, and so I remember when Jaden Daniels made the transfer. The thing about Jaden Daniels that makes him so special is that the man has always been put in the spotlight. He started on his varsity team as a freshman when he was in high school. He went to Arizona State. He was the starter for freshman year. When he transferred, became the starter for LSU. He don't know what it's like to just sit. He don't know that. He's always had to be the dude. He always had to. So I've been telling people this entire season. I said 55 games, and they said, "What you talking about?" I said, "The man has started 55 college football games. That is saying a whole lot. You have a guy comes in seasoned. He's like, look, man, I've been here. Now the terminology might be different. The coverages might be different. It's still football. It's still high stakes. I know what it feels like, and he just stays even keel." Nick Saban said before the national championship, they were talking about Jaden Daniels. Nick Saban said this was the hardest player he faced in the last 5 years of being the Alabama head coach. Jaden Daniels was the biggest problem for him since if you date it back, probably since like Johnny Manziel was probably the last time he had a fit about a quarterback. That's from Nick Saban, and he said the problem was he always had an answer. There was nothing you could do to rattle him, nothing you could do to shake him at all. Now, that's all about Jaden. Now we got to give credit to what this organization has done, from Josh Harris being the owner, becoming the owner last year. He saw what was going on. He said, "Okay, we got to revamp this." He put a smart team around him that knows how to, knows what winning organizations look like. Shout outs to Ben Johnson talking about some bunch of
Some
basketball,
basketball. Shout out to the
bunch
basketball
of
guys,
right,
okay?
bunch of basketball guys in the NFC title game. So I mean, he put a good squad around him. Getting Adam Peters, that was a big win. He was the most sought after GM. Getting Dan Quinn as the head coach, who's also a proven winner. Won a Super Bowl with Seattle. Had the Falcons perennial playoff team going to the Super Bowl. Had Dallas defense looking humming last year when he was the coordinator. So he knows what it looked like. So, and then getting the veteran pieces, Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Jeremy Chin, Frankie Louvu, getting these pieces to come onto
Which are not big names, not big acquisitions at all.
but are big character guys, tough guys that know, that got the grit. And so it's just the perfect storm. Now the argument that I've been making with people since Saturday was about, well, Detroit's defense had 13 players on IR and all that. I get all that. I get all that. I know that plays a part. But you also got to understand that Jaden Daniels is the only rookie quarterback to get his team this far, and his defense was not in the top five. Not even top 10. His defense was not in the top five. All the
And
rookie
that
quarterbacks
and that
that have
and
gotten this
that
far,
Lions defense still ranked top numbers despite what they lost.
all the rookie QBs that have gotten their teams this far, all of them were top five defenses. Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Mark Sanchez. They all had top five defenses. Jaden Daniels' defense is ranked 18th.
Yeah.
So it's him. He's literally doing this. Look at what Terry McLaurin, 1,000-yard receiver since he got into the league, but he broke the touchdown franchise record this year because you got an elite player. What people need to regardless of what happens this weekend, what people need to do is wrap their minds around the fact that Washington got one of them ones, and barring injury, God forbid, you're gonna have to deal with this cat. Just like people are worried about dealing with Lamar, people worry about dealing with Patrick Mahomes, people worry about dealing with Joe Burrow, people worry about Josh Allen. Okay, well, on this NFC side, you gotta worry about him.
Yeah.
He going barring injury, he gonna be here for a long time because when I say house money, I'm trying not to make this long. I'm gonna end it like this. When I say house money, it's not just this season, not just the fact that no one expects us to be here and we're here. No, we're in the top 10 as far as salary cap. I think we're like third or fourth with salary cap space going into the offseason. Adam Peters done required all these picks that we had lost through trades, through releases, through the draft last year. And we're in a position that we're a franchise that people want to play for. So which means they're not going to try to they won't have to break the bank because people want to come play here.
And that was mid-season.
So we're in a fantastic space right now going forward because we're 2 years ahead of schedule. So it's house money. I mean, it's house money. I don't know what to say. Now, I will say this. I hate that it had to be Detroit. Because I absolutely love Dan Campbell. I absolutely love Aaron Glenn. I absolutely love the way that the team is built. It's built the right way. I love that. And before the season started, I had Detroit being in the Super Bowl to ultimately win it. So I hate that it had to be Detroit. But I ain't mad that the Commanders.
I'm about to say, I ain't mad at all. I ain't mad at all. Speaking of Ben Johnson and basketball team, we're not going to put it in the basketball team. One factor that you forgot to mention about all of this as well, Tristan, Magic. Every time to see him and Terry McLaurin, every time these games are over, just hug each other. It's like you're just more in tune to want to be in those meetings because Magic Johnson is going to be there in those meetings. Whatever happens,
Every
is
team,
just
every team he's on, he's won a championship.
it's just glorious, and we'll see what happens.
Now, I will say this with Ben Johnson. That one thing I will say, that play for Jameson Williams throwing that, I don't understand that. I didn't understand it when he did it.
Even Tom Brady, you're making a wide receiver read a defense, and
I didn't.
you threw it right to Mikey.
At that point in the game where the momentum was already shifting, that's when the game was over. That's when it was over because I didn't understand that. I didn't understand.
He's
You see what Jahmyr Gibbs is doing. My thing, Jahmyr Gibbs would have had 40 touches. You see what he's doing the entire game. We had no answer for Jahmyr Gibbs.
no. As
Not a
soon as he
one.
touched it, he was gone.
He was gone. Not one answer. Why we did
There was a little bit
I
of an
didn't understand.
adjustment. There was a little
So,
bit of an
I
adjustment.
would
enough.
say this: the reason why you didn't get the Jahmyr Gibbs show as you should have is because even though we were battling, the deficit seemed bigger than what it was, and it felt that way. So the way they were calling plays and everything else was down, like we were down 28 as opposed to being down 14 or 10,
Yeah.
depending on when it was.
So for a team that wasn't used to a deficit,
Right.
you've been killing people all year.
The last time we were in a deficit was Buffalo, and that was a shootout that we ended up losing at the end because we gave up too many points up front. It's the same thing. It was the same thing here. It was some questionable calls. I would say major play. That was a questionable call, but the plays of the game, the strip sack fumble with us in the red zone, and then the pick right before halftime when he tried to get the JMO and Sanderson undercut him and got the pick. That's 14 points, 6 points worse. 14 points because we were at the 20, we were at the 30 on one, we were at the 5 on the other. That played a huge part in how they played the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But we couldn't stop anything. We couldn't stop. I mean, maybe y'all had one punt early in the third quarter. We couldn't.
One punt.
We couldn't stop you. So the thing is that the back-breaking drive, and it was long before the game, was the 7-8 minute drive, and that drive that just gassed everything out of the defense. Defense was doing everything, and you get the third down, and then you got the triple option, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to switch something, and then those calls were questionable. Again, you tried to do what you did against Minnesota, put pressure on, but you can't do it because that's not Darnold. Darnold don't have speed and decision making like Jaden Daniels does, and I can't be mad. I'm just happy I can watch football again.
The defense,
I literally could not watch it. I literally didn't watch the first game on Sunday to the third quarter.
I understand. The defense with Washington kind of reminds me of what defense was that? The Saints defense from I'm trying to remember what year. But Jonathan Vilma was the middle linebacker. Mm-hmm. Very opportunistic. They weren't juggernauts, but they took advantage of the opportunities and when they presented themselves. And that's what this defense reminds me of.
Not to mention, you're looking at Dan Quinn, who is a defensive minded coach, banking more in his offense than his defense, and that takes a lot of humbleness to do. Especially, and when you saw it last week. Todd Bowles was saying, I got a defense. I'm blitzing every chance I get because I know this is my bread and butter. Mm-hmm. And Dan Quinn said, nah, we're going to keep the ball out of your hands because we're going to stay on the field because I know my offense is better than my defense. And that's very humbling. I mean, not to mention you got this cat in Himothy as
I mean, it's good coaching.
He's calm. Even Tom Brady was like, what's going on with him? He's just calm. He's sitting there. Something that you would enjoy, Tristan.
This was
the faithfulness of him.
Yes. This was the stamp that I knew we had one of them ones. I never this entire year
never seen Tom Brady go meet somebody on the field.
I've never seen Tom Brady so excited talking about a player the way he talked about Jaden Daniels on Saturday. I said he's literally watching himself. I bet you if we had a camera on Tom Brady while he was probably sweating just out of the excitement of what he was watching because he was doing what Tom Brady would do. It's just calculating just those little blows just here and there, just keep it honest. So I never heard him sound so. He doesn't do that with players. He doesn't like fawn over them like that. But he was I mean, fangirling. He was just like, "Oh, Jaden Daniels is." Da, 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 da. I'm like, Tom.
Everybody's fangirling. Teddy
Yeah,
Bruschi a couple weeks ago, we couldn't beat nobody on 500. This team ain't serious now. Jaden is the man.
Teddy Bruschi had to throw his hands up like he won once. He won it
Right,
once.
Clark. Everybody down the line, it's Stephen A. is fanning over this guy, and I saw Tom Brady go on the field. I said, whatever you say to him, make it count. But to the fact that he went down there you sought him out. You went down there. This man was practicing, and you saw him out. And you know, some of Tom Brady's best commentaries when he is just giving his knowledge. He's not trying to look at the camera. He's not trying to when he's not trying to be a broadcaster. And he's just fanning. You can see the love of the game in his voice.
Now let me ask this question. Let me ask this before we leave, because it's we got a legitimate Detroit fan, so I gotta ask this question. Do you think? And I don't know. I don't know if the answer is still stinging because of the performance on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think Jared Goff can get y'all to the promised land?
Yes, he can. Again, you put a situation, and I'm going to say this. Knowing how our defense was, knowing how our defense played, this is prior to Minnesota game when we probably played the best defensive game of the year for us. I was comfortable with the offense having to win us the championship, which was my mindset. Jared Goff, it's his offense. He masters it. He controls the offense. It can be done. The thing is now losing Ben Johnson to Chicago, probably losing Aaron Glenn to either the Saints or the Jets.
Like the Saints, yeah,
or the one of those two. Who are going to be the hires to be able to keep that continuity to be able to do that? Dan Campbell.
It's not like Ben Johnson's taking y'all O-line coach as well.
Well, he just did a second interview with Seattle for OC, so and that'll hurt too because Fraley was there before Campbell and everybody else. He was a holdover, and offensive line is a strong suit, and we're probably going to lose at least 2 starters just due to attrition with Decker and Ziegler, and maybe even Glasgow. So that
I like Glasgow
strength, and now that may be a question mark. So there's a lot of different things, but I will say that we do need offensive line to still be a strong suit of our team. But I do believe that we can win it with the weapons that are in there because we got that +1 in running back where it either can be a starter anywhere as you have a wide receiver core, which at the beginning of the season was still a big question mark.
Yeah.
Tim Patrick, I'm not sure if he's still under contract beyond this year, but he deserves a pay raise because he was that number 3 wide receiver. He can do it. If things just have to go in, I don't think like when Stafford was here, the sentiment was always he has to have all these weapons under him, and they kept adding weapons but not adding the line and everything else.
Right.
And I think we have our core offensively and all the contract that you're good to go. And it's just about, how are we going to be able to continue where this is? Because Campbell was very clear that he wanted to be able to keep his same calls and everything else. So it sounds like they may be doing an internal promotion for OC.
Yeah, because he said he wanted the philosophies to be the same.
Yeah, so that may be the case offensively and defensively, but he wants to be hands-on. So I think going into the season, Goff was still the question mark. He got all the blame for last year. With that, that blame last year against the 49ers was coaching.
Definitely coaching.
But they tried to blame him, and of course he had a bad game, but he's not the reason you lost. The reason you lost, you gave up 45 points. You scored 31 even with 5 turnovers, which is crazy. But so Goff is my guy. As far as the quarterback, everybody was like, you need to do this. No, there's no clear upgrade to him in this offense, and that's the thing. There's not quite a lot of offense like the Lions offense.
You still got Hendon Hooker on the roster.
Right. So who are you going to plug and play and put them in and have them master the offense the way that Goff does? And the players have the trust back and forth. Like the quarterback has the trust in the wide receivers and the running backs, and they have trust in him of being where they're supposed to be. So he's my guy.
Plus, there's a lot of intangibles. You like that nobody's selfish on this team. If Amon-Ra doesn't have a single touch, he's blocking. He's doing something, and he enjoys that. It's no diva-ship going on here. Speaking of Ben Johnson, hopefully Caleb Williams can, develop out of this, and we'll see what happens there. Sunday. In my eyes, 2 games really centered on playing in the elements, fellas. Most particularly playing in the snow. But like I said, if I was in an oxygen tank on Saturday, the Lions won again. The Commanders. If I was in an oxygen tank then, I was damn sure in a heart attack on Sunday. 28-22, the Rams lose to the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 15-20, 228 yards. He did not throw a touchdown. He did not throw a pick on the ground. 7 receptions, 70 yards. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Shout out to the Giants because y'all just continue to show how dismal your front office and everything is, because in the same breath, we can see you let go of Saquon, and we can see a video of one of the GM's kids telling him to round up for Jaden, and he did not do that. This is what happens to you. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Matthew Stafford, he said he's not focused on trying to figure out his football future right now. 26-44, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyron Matthews, 19 carries, 106 yards. Puka Nacua, 6 receptions, 97 yards. Tyler Higbee, 7 receptions, 54 yards, 1 touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions, 61 yards. And as I was even writing this, I was like, damn, look at this offense for the Rams. Barkley dashed through the snow. Dashing through the snow, you get it? For touchdown runs, 78 yards and 68 yards. The Eagles held on against the turnover-happy Rams, 28-22 to reach the NFC Championship game for the second time in 3 years. Barkley, who left the Giants, as we all know, in free agency to sign a 3-year deal for $26 million guaranteed. This is the reason why I came here. This was the best opportunity to play in a game like this. Well, say it like you really mean it, Saquon. Hurts rushed for the longest touchdown of his career, a 44-yarder on the 5th play of the game. Elliott missed on the extra point for the second straight playoff game. Hurts suffered a concussion that cost him in 2 games in a loss at Washington in December. Honestly, I think that our game against them stopped Saquon from actually getting the record, because if we can't defend the run and we stink, whatever adjustments we made in the second half, we made them. Yeah. It was the Eagles' only loss after they returned from the bye with a 2-2 record. Hurts threw for just 128 yards. His mobility hampered in the second half after he was fitted for a knee brace. He didn't miss any snaps, but was easily mauled on a safety, and he was sacked 7 times. Eagles set to host the NFC Championship game for the 5th time since Lincoln Financial Field opened in 2003. Just a bus ride up I-95, everybody. I think I'm up here pretty shocked because I know a lot of people didn't believe we could come in here, but we had the full expectation to come in here and win. I don't think anybody ever really expected the end of the season to be right now, and the finality of it is tough for me to swallow. That was Rams head coach Sean McVay. Any thoughts on this one, fellas?
So I'm gonna. My fandom had played a part in this game. I love how Saquon has played this year, and how he was the missing piece that the Eagles had, because even earlier in the season, I mean, he was doing this thing, but they were talking about wanting to fire the coach earlier in the season. So I love how this is playing a part for him. Selfishly, I was rooting for the Eagles because I did not want to hear a week or possibly 3 weeks of Lions fans talking about Stafford doing his thing without the Lions and how the trade was bad and we still got the short end stick of the bat. Stafford, when you were here, I loved you, but you're not my quarterback. I saw you doing some things in that 4th quarter, and I was like, it's about to happen again. And if he hadn't got that pressure, that pass wouldn't have been a little wide. It would have been 1st and goal with some things to go. But the Eagles made plays when they need to make plays. A little concerning, the number of sacks that they gave out.
Yeah.
That Rams defense is scary. I'm going to say that. I didn't want to face the Rams. It was one team I did not want to face. It was the Rams in the playoffs. No offense to the Commanders, but it's because of their defense, and their defense is young. Their front seven with Verse and Fist, oh, those guys are bringing the pain, and they did it, and that may
Jared
help
Verse was having a good
Commanders.
time taunting.
Yeah, that may help. That may help the Commanders tenderizing Hurts and making him think. Got a little sore. The weather may not be right, which may not help him either. But it was a great game.
It was.
Back and forth game. Defense, the elements. It was perfect playoff football type of game, regardless of whoever you had in that game. But it was a good game. But I'm just glad I didn't have to hear this Stafford talk or the Detroit Rams talk as they when they won the Super Bowl. That's what they kind of made themselves in. Fans who are starving for a Super Bowl. I want one of my own. I don't want one vicariously.
And the other side of that conversation, Tristan, is we were TBD, and a lot of people and a lot of America would think that we would be scared by now, depending on each opponent. This is the first time I heard people saying it didn't matter who it was.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this game?
If it didn't snow, the Rams would have won.
Yeah, it was all about the elements, pretty much.
If it didn't snow, the Rams would have won that game. And I'm not saying it to be an Eagles hater or anything like that, but the Rams were better. Saquon was better than everybody, but as a team, the Rams were better. It's just, and they know they have to address. I thought, I'm gonna be honest. I thought going into the season, I said, this might be the time. Matt Stafford going to do the little swan song. Now, Matt Stafford could probably play 2 more years. That arm is still live. It's still golden. Like, he could probably go another 2 seasons. But you got to shore up the offensive line. That's what really did him in. Is the offensive line play against Jalen Carter and them boys. That's really what did him in. But like you said, that defense is young. People were thinking, post Aaron Donald, what was going to happen. When they got them 2 Florida State boys, I was like, oh yeah, y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all know what y'all doing. Like that team is solid. And I was one of the ones thinking that they had to maybe think about a quarterback, but they're probably right in a good spot because I would say you give Matt Stafford like 2 more years at this thing, you're right in the realm of where a great quarterback class would come out for you to get a rookie that can sit behind them and learn. If the Rams are even bad at that point, because they're going to be in the playoffs again next year. Like, this is a solid Rams team. If they address the offensive line this offseason like the way they should, and get a couple more weapons here and there, they're going to be right back in this the same way. Like, and really, to be honest, and I hope my frat brother Eric ain't watching because I know he's going to be upset when I say this.
It's okay.
Don't be shocked if they topple over 49ers. Don't be surprised in that division. Don't be surprised if they topple over the 49ers in that division because I'm not so sure of how that 49er roster going to hold up next year. You already seen the attrition taking place with some of those players, and that window is starting to close. You got to play Brock Purdy. Like, that's a whole other topic for another day, but you got to pay him. So you're going to lose some people. So don't be shocked. But the Eagles is why I say the Commanders are a puncher's chance because they kind of give me the same vibes as Detroit. It's just the fact that their defense is healthy, but we've beaten that defense before. So that's why I've been telling people, I said we have a puncher's chance against the Eagles. Everybody's like, well, Detroit ain't do it, but the Eagles surely going to smash y'all. Nah, don't be so short. And Jalen being banged up because he's got a bad knee. Don't be so
I thought it came down to us beating Jalen because a lot of people said, well, Jalen wasn't in the game. But Jalen don't play on defense.
He don't play
defense. Which leads me to my second point. The Commanders have done a justice to understand the last 2 minutes. Whatever Dan Quinn has done as far as saying, hey, if it comes down to one possession, if it comes down to the last 5 minutes, 3 minutes of this game, this is what mode we're going to go into. And again, Timothy Jaden Daniels is out there playing like he doesn't even realize that this is a moment. He even said in his interview, it might hit me after I leave the field. Mm-hmm. So My thing is watching the last 3 minutes of that game against the Rams. That Eagles defense just put a little bit of backs up against the wall, especially if you put them in a high pressure situation with a no huddle and you speed up the pace. If it becomes situational football
They could be had.
between the Commanders and the Eagles in a situation where the Commanders have excelled all season long, can Dan Quinn outcoach Sirianni? Can Sirianni even outcoach Dan Quinn? And I don't think the Eagles are going to be in a position where they're going to be able to do that. And they weren't able to do it the last time, especially with having a backup quarterback the last time. So that's my only point of it.
Yeah, we are a team that can finally say we have a guy that if it's a one possession game in the last 2 minutes and the ball's in his hands, probably 9 times out of 10 he's gonna win the game. We got one of those people. Ain't too
and
many,
it's not a doubt.
But we got one of them.
So if it comes down to the last 3 minutes, 2 minutes,
and Jayden got the ball, it's over.
Can the Eagles figure that defense is not good when you have to rush them? I haven't seen it. Speaking of last possessions, this game was a blockbuster. It had plots, subplots, it had subtitles, it had everything above. If you want my personal opinion, shout out to the Bills. But this is more so about the idiosyncrasies of the Ravens and their issues than about the Bills actually winning. Because if you and I don't like to listen to commentary. We talk about fandom and Tom Brady. Tony Romo, his whole commentary never took the Ravens out of this game. Even when they were out of this game, even going into the tunnel, he said, "Yeah, Lamar gets it. This is going to be a second half, different second half." The Bills 27, the Ravens 25. Lamar Jackson 18 to 25, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. On the ground, 6 carries, 39 yards. Derrick Henry 16 of 84 yards. 1 touchdown. Isaiah Likely, 4 receptions, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 4 receptions, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. Mark Andrews, 5 receptions, 61 yards. That's a banging offense. Shout out to Zay Flowers because there was a difference a little bit. Josh Allen, 16 to 22, 127 yards. He did not throw a touchdown. He did not throw a pick. On the ground, 10 carries, 20 yards. James Cook, 17 carries, 67 yards. Khalil Shakir, 6 receptions, 67 yards. Bills end streak of 3 straight losses at this stage of the postseason to move on to play the 2-time defending champion Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC title game. What a complete win, Allen said. All year this team has heard we've got no talent. We're too small. We can't stop the run. Well, you really can, but, whatever. We can't stop the run. We're not good enough to compete. We've just put our head down and worked hard. I'm so proud of our defense. I'm so proud of our offense and special teams. The Ravens, because this is the story, had one of the NFL's most productive offenses in the regular season, but fell a win short of reaching the conference title game, which they lost to the Chiefs a year ago. Scrutiny of Jackson's playoff performances will only increase as he fell to 3-5 in the postseason, 1-5 when committing turnovers in the playoffs. Baltimore in itself is 5-8 in divisional round, including 1 of 4 in the last 5. It's very interesting to have Derrick Henry on this team that did not win. And you say what you say about Lamar, but Lamar respectfully don't play on the defense that let Derrick Henry steamroll him a couple of years ago. We got to get over this because we're right there, he says, Lamar Jackson. I'm tired of being right there. We need to punch in the ticket. I know he's taking accountability. I think this is more of a free-form conversation, guys, because I think we all can say 2 things can be true. I'm going to let you guys first, and then I'll give you my half of it, whoever wants to take it.
Well, as a non-biased person in this situation, it was a team loss. Buffalo came out strong in the first half. Baltimore was doing their thing in the second half, put themselves in a position to at least try to force the game into overtime. These plays weren't made. I mean, there were a couple of different things. It was a great game. The unfortunate piece was, number one, is somebody had to lose between these 2 good teams. And then secondly is the same thing that happens on both sides of the coin. On a team game with 53 players, one person is always the cause of the win or the loss. And, so quickly they want to put that on Lamar. Now, granted, Mark Andrews is getting his fair share. The memes are going crazy on that guy.
It's loading.
It's crazy, but and he did drop it. I mean, but it was a tough catch. It was, everything, but that's what you get paid to do in that situation. It happens. It's not the same. I don't think it's the same song, the same thing. I mean, they're a good team. It's just they have to kind of put it together. Offensively, they were pretty good. I mean, they were excellent and dynamic offensively, but it's just, I don't know. Buffalo is playing pretty good. Ever since the Detroit game, they've been kind of steamrolling and playing their type of ball game.
Yeah.
Defense wasn't there in Detroit because it was a straight shootout, but in the rest of the games, they've been kind of stepping up and playing playoff football probably since after Thanksgiving, and really kind of honed in, and that experience has played a big part. They got Milano back. They got some key pieces back on that defense that is allowing them to be able to stay in the game.
He had a good game.
Allowing Josh to do his thing. The love fest of Josh for him not even winning the AFC Championship is just ad nauseum. I'm just gonna say it for me. Yeah. If he wins against Kansas City, then I'll take every word that comes. But it's ad nauseum. Right now he's yet to beat Mahomes and when it counts. So I'm waiting to see what that looks like. But he played well in that game. He runs that offense as he is. He knows what he's doing. It is his team. But, the criticism for him is not there. He has just as many Super Bowl appearances as Lamar. Just as many. And the criticism is not there. And I'm not even going to speculate to why.
Yes.
But the criticism is not there at all.
It's in our faces as we're looking at each other.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
But the criticism is not there for him.
He was
but
a game away
there.
from this being the same conversation.
Yep, because if they don't win and get to the Super Bowl, well, they had injury. The excuses will come in. I guarantee you the excuses will come in. But at the end of the day, he's a great quarterback. He's a top-tier quarterback, but he still hasn't gotten it done in the big game. So he has another opportunity to do this, and that would separate him from Lamar in this situation by getting to the Super Bowl in that situation. So
nothing on the legacy.
No, the legacy hasn't changed. I mean, this guy is great. I mean, it's a team game. I mean, would you be talking about the legacy if they were if Andrews would have caught the ball and then they would have lost on the field goal and or a touchdown in overtime because they didn't get the ball? No, but they still would have blamed him. So the thing is, his legacy is still intact. The thing is that you have some great quarterbacks that unfortunately can't get to that next level. Marino and other quarterbacks alike that couldn't get to win that Super Bowl. So the thing is that everything now is all about winning. That's a part of it, but a part of it is leading and being the best player on your team and the leader on your team. And he's shown that time and time again. That's who he is for that franchise.
I know this is not supposed to be a participation trophy. And, a lot of people didn't agree with this point I was saying. Because I was saying Lamar Jackson had the drive of his career, that last drive. Mm-hmm. Any other season, he's trying to play hero ball. That and those mistakes in the first half snowballs even more, especially on that last drive. And I'm not negating that we have to blame this on 8 and 89. Okay, I'm not negating that, and Lamar took accountability as well. But I'm also saying this is what you ask an elite quarterback to do. He took a look at himself in the first half and said, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Unfortunately, by the time he got himself out of his own hole, the team in itself was already in the hole. Derrick Henry had missed a catch. There was a pass interference that just shouldn't have been called. If there is no fumble the first time by Mark Andrews on a drive where the Bills had no answer for the Ravens the second half, we're not even sitting here talking about this because the man had nothing but snow in front of him if he turns around and does the right thing. And this is what an elite quarterback. He accounts for his own mistakes. He goes back, he regroups, and he still put them in a position to win this game. In a drive that typically does not go that way in the playoffs for Lamar Jackson. And it's like, what else did you want him to do? We cannot, and when you talk about Lamar Jackson, you talk about, I'm not saying the mediocrity of the rest of the league, because everybody else is in mediocre, but to an extent of how marvelous he is, he beaten his own records previous years to win a third MVP if that happens. He broke another record in the game itself. And then you penalize him and say, well, he's so great, he doesn't have a chip, because people are trying to make a stake on the trajectory of where they thought his career should be at this point in time. You can't do that. And unfortunately, his mistakes, okay, but where's the gump to be able to throw and say, hey, I believe in this person, especially in a Mark Andrews that's 90% point true. That is Mr. Reliable. I do think that offense was missing Zay Flowers, because Zay Flowers not only makes the catches, but it's the yardage after the catches that he gets. Everybody was making the catches but was going down. Zay Flowers can pick up yardage after that. But that's my piece with it. Like, I understand that two things can be true. Lamar messed up, but I also understand that what you've been asking Lamar to do, he actually did. If anything, you saw the maturation process of Lamar Jackson, especially when he checked the ball down. When he checked the ball down, I said, okay, this might actually be a drive. You saw the maturation process of this man in that last 3 minutes in this whole game of what everybody has been wanting him to be. And it's just unfortunate of who he is, makes him public enemy of number one of a team that's still trying to figure it out with so many weapons. Tristan, finish us off, my guy.
So I'm a big, football NFL like historian. And this is
Yes,
giving
sir.
me shades of Phillip Rivers. And the reason I say that is because Phillip Rivers had to deal with the same phenomenon. He had Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in his way. What's happening right now is that Lamar Jackson is in a position where he's got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in his way. And in some instances, possibly Joe Burrow in his way. And you got a guy that is so awesome. The whole reason he's getting the critique is because he's great. You're going to be, if he wins the Super, if he not Super Bowl, if he wins the third MVP, which it looks like that's what's going to happen, he'll be the only 3-time MVP without a championship. He's the only one. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Brett Favre. He'd be the only one. So it's just hard to not critique him, because it's like, we expect you to be great, but you also got to look at the totality of what the situation was. So like, Ravens were the better team on Sunday, in Buffalo, but unfortunately those turnovers were costly. It wasn't like, now he tried to erase it by having a hell of a second half, but it still, turnovers were costly. And I'm just afraid that he's really going to be on that Phillip Rivers arc where he be that one of those great quarterbacks that don't get a championship because he's got two guys in his conference that are going to keep him shut out the door. Just like
I didn't agree with a 2-point conversion. That was too early. I didn't agree with that either.
Well, yeah. I mean, but even in that, it's always something. It's never like they get beat. And I think that's what makes it so frustrating. Like, really think about the Ravens playoff runs the last few years. It's never that they get beat. It's that some fluke thing happens and it costs them. And you're just like, dude, what was like you're just snake bitten. Like it's never that they just it's just like Phillip Rivers. It was never that the Chargers got beat. It was just something that always happened, and it kept them out from going to the promised land.
So this is the question for you both. Does he get one? I mean, and you say historian. A lot of people saying Peyton Manning. There's a lot of people talking about Allen Iverson on the other side. I've heard Carmelo Anthony. Like, does he get one, or can he get two?
I think you get one. I just don't. So
But is one enough? But will one be enough to shut it up?
it would have to be.
Oh,
you got Patrick Mahomes that got three, about possibly to get four. You got to believe Josh Allen with that ability go and get one. Joe Burrow was close to getting one. He was one block away from winning one. So
another conversation of quarterback we have to say have if it wasn't for the defense he had this year, because Joe been in there how many times?
So, but you think he gonna get one? Like I think all of them gonna get one. Who's gonna get two? I don't know. Because as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing football, I don't know. Out of the AFC side,
yeah,
and then you still got to account for the NFC side because you don't know how Jaden Daniels going to develop. You don't know how that's going to go.
You know what Jalen Hurts is going to look like.
Right. I'm not saying it as a fan. I'm saying like in facts, like you don't know what Michael Penix might be a dog. I thought he should have started over Kirk Cousins. So in Atlanta, you just don't know. So it's going to be tough sledding. Like we're really in. We were trying to figure out when was going to be the next golden era of quarterbacks after the Aaron Rodgers, the Peyton Manning, the Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, all these cats. And then when they went about their way, the Matt Ryans of the world, even though y'all know how I feel about Matt Ryan, but the Matt Ryans of the world, all those cats. And we said, when is this next golden era of quarterbacks? We're here. The next era of golden quarterbacks is here. So it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet to that chip with these guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a hot take, and I don't do hot takes. Lamar's gonna get one, but it's not gonna be in Baltimore.
Ooh. That man said he never leaving.
Yeah, he said that now. He may not leave on his own. I'm just saying. At some point in time,
I don't think he's ever not gonna be there.
At some point in time,
that would be
starts listening to the outside noise. You start seeing at the bottom line. They are a championship winning organization. They have proven it since they have been in Baltimore. I'm just saying.
So once they start listening, they're gonna oust him on his own. Woo.
I can't see it.
I mean, it's not on his own. I'm talking about a trade. I'm talking about a trade that puts.
If they start listening to the conversations that we have to have.
Yeah.
I can't see
which
it.
I don't understand because again, he saved Harbaugh's job.
Like the last year of his contract, there's 2 years left in his current contract. I'm not talking about right now. I'm just saying, in general, like I'm tired of being the bridesmaid in this situation. We're gonna go ahead and move on, and he gets in the situation where he ends up being like Darnold, but he can get the job done.
But you got Patrick Mahomes, Josh. All these guys are still under 30. You fault him for that's what he got to fight.
I'm not faulting him. I'm just saying. You asked, was he getting one? I said yes. It's not in Baltimore.
I can't see it not being.
I can't see it either. We need to save this conversation because we I don't see it either. I see 2027.
Harbaugh may not be the coach.
Lamar gets his first one.
Harbaugh may not be the coach at the time.
I would see Harbaugh gone before Lamar gone.
Yeah,
listen. I said it's a hot take, and I don't do hot takes. I'm just saying. Tired of being the bridesmaid, you go ahead and trade him to a team that's missing a quarterback in the NFC that gives him an opportunity, and now he gets a pass. Ooh, see, there we go.
That's a long. I can see Harbaugh being gone before. I
know you don't want to think about it, but I'm just saying that's a reality.
That's an interesting take right there.
20s.
I know,
but that's the interesting part about this, because we talk about windows. Tom Brady made a point that the window is at the end of the season. You know, we always, and then we're talking about is his window shortened, and if we bring up Mahomes and Burrows and Josh, they're saying that at this point, it may be closed for him to even get one. So And the man's not even what, 25 yet? 26?
We ain't seen the best of Lamar yet. You ain't seen.
I thought we
And
had.
I know.
Yeah.
And I said that to somebody. They were like, "Dude, he's a multi-time MVP." I know. You ain't seen the best of him yet.
I thought we saw the best in his. I thought we saw growth in that game last
He's
weekend.
still growing.
I thought
there's a click. Josh Allen we're seeing the best of Josh Allen right now.
Yeah, you called him a dog earlier in the season. There's something different about this Bills
season. Best of him right now. We ain't seen the best of Lamar yet. When the quarterback brain and the physical gifts come together fully, it's almost there. When it fully reaches, unstoppable.
One word of advice before we get into the last part of the show is, Lamar, I know you like going to Florida after the year is over. Take a month off. Go to Buffalo, play in the snow, okay? Do what you got to do to work with the elements. Last but not least, is it Bills Commanders? Is it Chiefs Commanders? Do we got the old guy versus the new young guy?
Everybody's
is it Bills Eagles? Or are we running it back, Turbo? Is this 1991, Tristan? Is it Bills Commanders, or are we running it back again for Chiefs Eagles?
Everybody
wants the Super Bowl.
Everyone wants it to be Bills Commanders. Don't nobody want to see Chiefs Eagles. Don't nobody want to see the Chiefs for real.
No.
I'm telling you, it's when you the hero long enough, you live long enough to become the villain.
The ratings might go down if you got to watch the Chiefs again. Oh
yeah,
my God.
that's what happened. Everybody named Mama rooting for Buffalo to beat the Chiefs this weekend. They have now become the villain. It was the same. Oh, Patrick Mahomes, this feel good story. Yep, Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. Yep, he's so amazing. Oh, so okay, he won another Super Bowl. Okay, he's great. All right, cool. He won a third Super Bowl. Okay, now this is getting a little annoying. He's become the villain.
Nobody wants to see Taylor Swift. Nobody wants to see Caitlin Clark neither.
No one wants to see Travis Kelce. Nobody want none of that. None of that. So give us Bills Mafia. And honestly, if we lose, I would want the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I want the Bills to win the Super Bowl because I feel for those Bills teams of the 90s. I feel for them. To go 3 straight years and not get one, and they had some dogs on that squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let Bills right that wrong. Yeah, But if we facing them, you already know. If the Commanders win, I'm going to be insufferable.
I'm telling you now, the whole streets are going to be filled. I'm telling you now, I'm not coming. I'm taking off the parade. I'll be in that.
I'm going to be insufferable.
Mouth getting reckless.
Hear me. This is 30 years of pent up trash talk that I'm gonna be doing.
And to your point too, as a millennial with this team, first of all, Jaden Daniels wasn't even alive for the glory days, and he has the ability to have people that were alive in the glory days believe again and know again, and he wasn't even around. But as a millennial, to have to suffer through all these decades and to not be able to even see it at 3 years old, at 36, I never thought I'd live to see the day.
Didn't think I was going to see it.
Never thought I'd live to see the day. And if I see it, Tristan, we can get on the metro together.
Yeah.
I'm going to look like a shrine.
Yeah. I'm talking big trash.
Who going to the Super Bowl, Big Al? What's up, Q?
I would probably say Washington and Kansas City.
Ooh. There you go. You gotta be the wild card, don't you? Who wins?
Who wins?
No, or do we save this conversation?
We save it. We gotta
save it. We gotta see.
We save this conversation. He's going old guy versus new guy. We're going the guy who's right now versus him. And like I say every week, people, this is it. Episode 142 next week. Al, thank you for joining us. We'll see you the week after next, because this is I think this is becoming good television. I don't know about you and Q. I hope you're getting this. I hope you're getting used to this being your schedules.
We are.
And like I said every week, Tristan, don't even try not to answer my calls. You don't get that privilege. I was saying, like I said every week, I don't care if it does not rhyme in his mind. I'm like Kevin McHale. America, AFC Championship, NFC Championship. By the time we see you again, we'll have the Super Bowl matchup. Peace.
Peace.